But let your kids be kids. Let them play at home as much as they can and do those things at home. Like saying, hey, I can do an extracurricular activity or class at home. I can do it cheaper, I can do it better, save a lot more time, build way more memories, have fun with it. Hello, welcome back to Single Mom on a Farm, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm Marcy. I've got my ponytail today and I'm on the trampoline because I'm going to talk to you about extracurricular activities, which I really love. And I guess I don't move too much because I realized when I just did that the camera moves a little bit. So hopefully I hold still. But I do love this subject a lot, something I'm very passionate about. So hopefully you gain something from this video. I'm going to first go over some of the cons about extracurricular activities. This is the time of year that people are putting their kids in all kinds of activities after school. They're really feeling pressured to sign their kids up. They're, finding out what Johnny's doing and Susie's doing and all the neighbors and all their friends. And I first wanted to just tell you, if you don't get nothing else out of this video, then you have my permission to not sign your kids up for extracurricular activities. I don't really have things totally against them. I just want you to have my permission because I feel like some moms don't want to, but they feel pressured to by everybody else. So here is me saying you don't have to feel pressured to put your kids in activities. You can just say no and give your kids a free afternoon childhood, especially if they're in public school, then they could really use that free time. Okay, so some of the cons that I'm thinking about off the top of my head are that they cost money, obviously. They cost a lot of time. And this was the biggest thing for me because I realized if I got an activity at 3:30, then I have to start getting the kids ready by 2:30. So sometimes it's waking up the toddlers earlier from their naps, finding shoes, finding coats if it's cold, packing the diaper bag with snacks and diapers, water bottles, those kinds of things, some books for the kids. Just watching the clock. I'm really a panicked person about being late, and so I actually hate going anywhere with the time limit. I don't mind just taking my kids to the zoo or somewhere. But when there's a class that starts, then I'm a little bit panicked that I didn't get the kids down for their nap by 1 so they can sleep till 2:30. I didn't get them, I just worry about getting there on time. So not having activities really helps me with that level of stress. So anyway, they're time consuming because of that. You have to get ready early and grab your purse and your book and your things that you want to bring along. Watch the clock, get everybody in the car seats and, into the van, get to where the activity, and then, you might sit there and waste an hour. Nowadays, people are probably all on their phones. When my kids were really little, I didn't have a phone, so, just bringing a book, or I'm bringing the stroller and taking them for walks while the kids are in an activity, bringing books and games and things to entertain the other kids, those kinds of things. So, and then you pack them all back in the car and you get home. And as soon as you get home, there's the 20-minute drive home, and then there's the shoes and clothes and book bags and stuff all over the place. They're hungry. You're trying to figure out what to do for dinner. So I feel like it took, at least a 2-hour chunk out of my day, even if it's just a 1-hour activity. So in that way, they're a little bit more time consuming to me. And even more so if I've been worried about it all day. Like I said, about getting lunch on time, getting the naps on time, not messing up anything, it kind of goes back to the morning, making sure they're getting up in the morning on time so they have the breakfast on time and the lunch on time so they'll go down for their nap on time. Because for me, it's whenever we had something special like that, like an activity where we had to be somewhere at 3 or 3:30, then that was the day they slept in the morning, and then they didn't take their nap until 2, and then I had to wake them up at 2:30 or 3, and then so I probably overthink things too much, and I stress about things like that and naps. But for me, extracurricular activities were pretty time consuming. And they're time consuming for their siblings also. So if only 1 or 2 are in that activity, then the other kids are not having the free play. They're not learning anything. They're just sitting, maybe looking at books, watching, going for a walk in the stroller. They're losing out on their free time. Free play is when kids learn the very, very most. Actually, it's free play. It's not during school and activities and all that. It's their free time. But I'll get to that later or maybe in a different video. So I do worry about the other kids, in the car a lot, or not having they're not putting on a puppet show or doing something creative. They're just hanging out. And then sometimes I just also think about What if you didn't have that activity today? How much time would you gain back in your day? So, maybe the activity is only an hour, like I said, but did it really take 2 hours or 3 hours out of your time, out of your day, like worrying about it and preparing for it, planning dinner earlier, those kinds of things. So just kind of think about that. If we didn't go anywhere today or something, like how many hours would I gain back into my day? Okay, moving on to the next con. I feel like in extracurricular activities, kids don't have autonomy or freedom. They don't get to decide any of the rules about the game or who's going to play which position or whatever. And maybe you're saying that was the point of the extracurricular activity, is that they want them to learn the real rules of basketball or something like that. And that's fine, and maybe I'll address that in a minute. But kids actually learn the best when they are making up the games and when they are deciding who's going to play which position. Are we going to play 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 or, what we're going to do, whose team is going to go first, whose team is going to be up last at bat, those kinds of things. It's way better for kids to decide that than kids just standing around and having adults tell them all the rules of the game. No talking, I'm talking right now, who's going to do what, who's going to play what position, all the rules. So I just feel like extracurricular activities these days is so much just adult-led. Adults are just telling kids all day long what to do, all day long in school and then all day long in the extracurricular activities. And then when you're bringing them home, you're just do your homework, take your shower, get ready for bed, clear the table. They're just told what to do all the time. And so they have no more autonomy or freedom. The next con is loss of interest in the activity. So a lot of times when kids are in extracurricular activities, they don't really care about it anymore. A mom might see a little kid dribbling a basketball or trying to play or ask for a basketball hoop, and they're like, oh, they love basketball, I'm going to put them in basketball, this would be awesome for them. And they get in there and they don't really like it anymore. Same thing with piano or swimming or skating, maybe sign up for skating lessons or something. And really they just wanted a pair of skates and they wanted to be able to skate in the yard, skate in the cul-de-sac, just try it out, just feel free. Maybe take them to the greenway sometime and just let them skate for longer stretches. So I hate that all of a sudden it makes them a loss of interest when they are pushed really hard by adults. I kind of experienced that a little bit. I wanted to do gymnastics and it was really fun and I do like it. I got onto the competition team, which is way awesome. So I'm not regretting anything like that. But I do know that there are a lot of moments when I said, I wish I could just play on the bar. I wish I could just run on the spring floor and do the flips and things that I wanted to do. But it's always the routine that the teacher tells you to do. It was always the skills that the teacher's telling you to do. Line up and do handstand walks across the floor. Do this, do 5 cartwheels. We're always just told. And there was never ever a free play, just a free play gym. And that would have been really fun. If I could just played gymnastics, just played on all the apparatus. That would have been really fun. So I know that it kind of killed me a little bit of my interest in gymnastics. I didn't have the freedom to just do it. I have 2 more cons that I can think of off the top of my head. One is loss of attention span and focus. I've heard that ADHD rates are skyrocketing just as free playtime is plummeting. And that is true. Definitely true. You can see that everywhere. ADHD rates are just going way up. And it's not a coincidence. It's because they do not have enough free playtime. Adults are talking to kids all day long, especially if they're in public school. Teachers talk to them all day long and telling them to pay attention and focus on their work and this and that. And then they go to a sports practice and it's the same thing. It's son, pay attention, focus on the game, or the practice or whatever they're doing. And then parents are talking to the kids all night telling them what to do. But you may notice that when kids are off by themselves, they have no problem with paying attention or focusing on what they want to. Doing Legos, they can just really get into it. When my kids are doing the mud kitchen, they are just concocting things and talking to each other and mixing up a storm. And I'm like, dinner's ready. And they can just not even pay attention because they're so into that. But if I were to take them in the house and be like, okay, you need to make this for dinner and you need to do this, they'd be wait, what? Do what? I'll feel hey, pay attention. And it's because it's my activity that I'm telling them to do. And it's my project. But when they're outside doing it themselves, then they can be fully immersed in it and they have no problems with attention span. So it's not actually their attention span. It's that they're told what to do all day long, things that they don't really care about and they're not invested in. And that can be the same as adults. I totally can relate to that. If somebody told me, oh, you're going to have a lesson on fixing toilets today or something, and I would just be like, say what? I think I've used this example in another video that I did because it's not applicable. I don't want to learn that today. I've got other things on my mind. But if it were applicable or I wanted to learn it, then I'd be totally ready and be able to focus on, okay, which part does this and what tools do I need to fix this and where is it leaking at exactly? I'd be way more focused on it. Same with the kids. So, like if they're playing a pickup game of basketball, then they have like no problems like focusing on the game and who's going to be doing what and lose sense of time and just really pay attention to the game, and they can recite all the statistics of Johnny shot this ball and Bobby did this one and how many baskets everybody made and all that kinds of stuff. And then you like put them in a real game and they can't even remember anything that happened during the game because their brain wasn't in it and it wasn't exactly their activity. It was more of an adult-led activity, if that makes sense. It's just really fun watching kids, like when they form a club or they're building a tree house or a dog house or a fort, or putting on a circus or putting on a puppet show. I mean, they're just like so focused on it and they have all the skills that they need to make that happen. So they're just valuable, so valuable activities. So give your kids plenty of free play time so they can build all those skills. And I know there are a few skills in team sports and stuff like that, but I don't think that they need them like year round or even like 3 or 4 in a year or year after year. I just think a few experiences over their childhood will help them learn those team skills that they need to be a team player, because it is really important, but it's not that they need it over and over again, because after that, nobody wants to be a team player anymore. It's just a little bit overkill. And so I feel like, the best team players on there are the newer ones who are actually willing and wanting to be on a team than the ones who are on teams, season after season and don't even want to be there anymore. They just need some free play time. So anyway, if you want to improve your child's attention span, give them more free play time, give them more time to just play what they want to play, and that will increase their attention span so much. So let it sort of like get it out of their system. If they have 2 or 3, 4 or 5 hours a day just to play what they want to play, then when it's time to do any schoolwork with you or wash dishes or help you scrub the bathroom floor or something like that, they will be able to focus and get it done because they've like had all that time to focus on their own interests, if that makes sense. And then the last con I could think of for having extracurricular activities is that they are leading to an increase in anxiety and depression. And I know a lot of other things come into play with that, but there are studies that have shown that anxiety and depression is going up a lot because of lack of free play time in the afternoon, of trying to keep up with other kids on the team, trying to be competitive or see, that they're prettier, that they're better, that they're smarter, they're stronger. Those kinds of things. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm not going to be able to get a trophy, or I'm not going to be able to get a scholarship for this particular sport. All of those things can add to anxiety and depression, loss of self-esteem, loss of self-confidence, whereas doing them at home or on your own can really bolster your self-esteem, because you're just like competing against yourself and you're trying to get yourself better instead of competing against somebody else's best self. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I want to talk to you a little bit about doing extracurricular activities on your own at home. So there's this one time I remember driving down the road. I had like 7 kids in the car. I think I was pregnant with my 8th kid. And from the back seat, I hear Alexis, she was 8 years old at the time, say, "They have cooking classes! Mom, I want cooking classes!" And I looked over just enough to see in a little strip mall a little cooking shop or whatever. And it had like a little sign out front saying, cooking classes, ages 7 to 14 or something like that. So I looked it up and they were $20 a class. And I thought, that's great. That's just so important to her. My heart just like wanted to give it to her. She doesn't ask for anything for herself. It would just be awesome. I mean, it just felt like it was a very great thing to want to do as a cooking class. So I considered it. And then I also just started considering the cons. The time, like I mentioned before, of having to get all the other kids ready, maybe interrupt naps, get them in the car, drive them over there, sit, or go to the store or go for a walk or something while she's in her 1-hour class, then come home. I thought of the commitment of, it was like every Thursday at 4 o'clock. And so I was like, oh no, there goes our Thursdays. Like, what if my parents are in town and we wanted to do something else? What if we wanted to go out of town? What if we wanted to just go to the zoo that day, or if there's nice weather? What if it was pouring rain and we just felt like staying home and watching a movie or reading? I'm kind of bad, and that's just probably my personality. I don't know if there's anyone else like that, but I love to be flexible. I love to just to go with the weather and to go with our moods, and then have flexibility when family comes. So I worried a little bit about that time commitment of just every Thursday. I worried about like getting out at 5 and then probably not getting home till like 5:30 and rushing to get dinner on, and how that would kind of, interfere with our dinner schedule and then our bedtime schedule. I worried that would she even get much to do in that 1 hour? Like, would they give her enough stuff to do? Would she have any autonomy? Would she be able to pick anything she wanted to cook? Would she be able to get to use like a can opener or a knife or anything? And then I kind of started thinking, probably prideful, she's probably going to be better than the other kids anyway, because I let her do so much cooking at home. And so I thought it's probably more of like a glorified daycare, I think, where, you know, they have cooking classes and it kind of sounds really cool, but it really is just kind of managing everybody, making them all take turns, making them all stand in line. Only one person gets to stir, you know, not having enough autonomy of getting to do what they want. And then I also just wondered, like, for that $20, is she going to get very much? Maybe she could bring home a cupcake or something like that. So I thought, what could I do with $20 a week to teach her cooking classes myself? So I decided to go ahead and just do just that. So that's what I'm talking to you about right now, is do your own, like, you know, like a do it yourself. Is that the term? Do it yourself extracurricular activities. My legs are going to sleep here, so I'm going to try to adjust a little bit without shaking the camera too much. Okay, so the first thing I bought was a cake decorating kit, because I assumed that they were going to do like all these cupcakes and stuff like that at this cooking class. I don't even know. But I probably only spent like $15. And so I've always wanted a cake decorating kit, and I just never allowed myself to splurge on something like that. But when I take it in the terms of, if I was going to spend this money on a cooking class, which seems like okay to do, but like buying myself a cooking thing, you know, like it's not okay to do, I just decided to allow it. I mean, it's perfectly fine. In fact, it's better because we could keep it for years to come, and actually we still have it. And we're building so many memories of doing it ourselves. And then I think I also bought 2 cookbooks, which is really fun because I just never went out and bought cookbooks before either. So those are the first things I bought. And I think the rest of the money just went towards the food, and sometimes it's a specialty kind of food, and most of the time it wasn't. Most of the time it was like $5 to $10 worth of ingredients for making the foods. So this is what we did. Every Friday afternoon at 2:30 was going to be her cooking class. Or I guess maybe we started like at 1:30. 2:30 was when we served our snack during the school year, and usually I just put out some like carrots or celery with peanut butter, you know, some like almonds and fruit, things like that. Just really simple. And so instead I said on Fridays we will actually make something. So we made this whole schedule of all of the things that we wanted to make. We did a lot of holiday foods, and so like, you know, month of October we were doing some Halloween type of foods. In November we did some Thanksgiving. For the Winter Olympics was that year we did foods from different countries. We were also studying poets that year and writers, and so I remember that we made some like Thoreau bread for studying Thoreau. Trying to remember what else. When we studied what their favorite foods were, and then we put those into our schedule. And some things Alexis just picked out of a cookbook and just randomly wanted to make. So we planned that, and I kind of thought it would take a lot out of me, but it wasn't. It was actually super fun. So like at 1:30, all the kids were just like, "It's Lexi's cooking class, let's go play." And they just like took the little kids and the babies and just like went off and played, and were really good so that I could have that time with Alexis and cook with her. And we had a blast. I mean, we made so many wonderful memories that I wouldn't have made if I had just dropped her off at a class. And then at 2:30 when it was done, then the kids were always like, "What did you make us?" And they loved it. They really supported her. They said it was delicious. I mean, she got so much positive feedback, probably a lot more than in a class of strangers. Maybe I'm being negative. I just assumed that, you know, there could be like some picking on each other. If they burnt it, they could be making fun of. Maybe just not very complimentary. Maybe they would just all be kind of shy. You know, these like 8, 9-year-olds, I don't know. But for us as a family, it just meant so much to hear each other, you know, encourage each other, and to eat what we all made. We also just got to stay home, so I never had to go anywhere. I didn't have to have like that time commitment of being somewhere or waking kids up from their naps or whatever. I'm trying to think of any other pros. I'm probably talking too long on it, but it was just so much fun. So I highly recommend that. It was just a great experience for me of saying, hey, I can do an extracurricular activity or class at home. I can do it cheaper, I can do it better, save a lot more time, build way more memories, have fun with it. And I also didn't kill her interest. You know, I said like a lot of activities will kill kids' interest in it, and it didn't. You know, she loves baking still to this day. She's just a phenomenal cook. So I think, especially at that age, that it's important to do it at home where you're supported like that. You think, oh, she's going to be a chef. She should have gone to like classes at 8 years old. But instead, I think she needs to explore as much as she wants at home and get the positive feedback from family. And then when she is ready, you know, like college age or whenever level they accept you, whatever age they accept you, then go to culinary school. And I've suggested it to her. I was just like, you're still a phenomenal cook, Alexis. You should go to culinary school. You would really love it. She's going to nursing school right now instead, but so I know that she still knows that she has that great talent and interest, and that she is a great cook. So find out what your kids are interested in. If they are into like golfing, see how you can do it at home for cheaper than golf lessons. Maybe some things are like that would be kind of hard, but see if you can just get them some golf clubs and a set outside in your yard, and just to see how they like it and see if they just want to play around with it for a while, or in your basement. Basketball hoops, see if you can put one in your cul-de-sac or in your driveway, or if they can play at a neighbor's a lot. Pickup games are just so much better for kids than actually being on a team in a sport. And especially like under 12, like once they are in middle school and high school, if they really want to be on team with friends and stuff, then that's kind of different. That might be more important to them. But for the younger ages, people are just putting their kids in soccer at 3 and 4 and 5, and swim lessons, and even it's like ski lessons and hockey lessons and like all kinds of amazing things. But let your kids be kids. Let them play at home as much as they can, and do those things at home. Like still try to do it with them. Maybe take them to the skating rink and see how they do, and just try to teach them yourselves. Save a little money, and also save some time, and then build the relationships. So what I was saying was, like, take that amount, say it's going to be $200 this semester for a child to do a sport, and see if you can do it for like half the cost. And what could you get for your family that would build memories and that you can like spend on yourselves? So like maybe get some hula hoops and jump ropes, some monkey bars, some gymnastics mats or gymnastics bar, football, basketball hoops, any of those kinds of things. Like just put them around your yard and let them go at it. Or art supplies. One year I think we got juggling balls for our family, and we all learned to juggle. One year we got soccer nets and soccer balls. We've gotten art supplies. We've gotten bird books and binoculars. One year that, I thought of like taking a birding class. I was like, let's just get our own bird books to buy instead of just getting them from the library, and invest in 2 really good pairs of binoculars. And then we can do birding the rest of our lives and enjoy it. Anytime we see a bird, like we can just grab them up, and it's just something that we can bond with because we all love to do it. I'm trying to think of other things we have. We've gotten zip lines. I think there's the one behind me right back there. We've gotten just like gymnastic suits or leotards. I let the kids like put all these blankets in the yard and try to do flips over them. We made like a balance beam out of wood. We have just a lot of activities, I guess. And again, when I feel like I don't have the money to spend on something, then I think, hey, it's better than the time and the money I would spend driving to town to take the kids to this class. So it's better to buy the thing and bring it home to my house. Whether it's like a flute or a piano, other instruments, other things like Play-Doh and like sculpting type of things. Like, well, we aren't going to take a ceramics class, but I can try to get as much of that kind of stuff as I can at home to play with. And then maybe someday when they really are interested, even in college, then they are already ready to do like a full-on ceramics class, which would be really cool. So Kylie, this is what reminds me of Kylie always wanted to play the harp. When she was 3 years old, we had this teenage friend who played the harp, and she would invite all of the kids in our area to come over and listen to her play the harp. And I thought she was amazing. And Kylie was 3, and she loved listening to her play the harp, and she was just mesmerized by it and wanted to play it. And I knew she would just be this little harp prodigy. Of course, she's my oldest. And I really, really wanted to get her a harp so bad. I knew we couldn't afford it. We didn't have space for it. It was a 700 square foot house. I knew it'd be hard to like move with us. We weren't going to be living there forever. We were just in medical school. So I didn't. And then in our next house, we had a little bit more space. We still just never felt like we had the money for a harp or harp lessons. So we never did it. So when she got to college, one of the first classes she signed up for was harp lessons. And it's awesome because in college you can take like classes for free or for very minimal cost once you pay the tuition, then you can take like swimming and diving and just all these activities. And so she does the harp, and by that first Christmas concert, her teacher said she was like at the level 2. She's already looked like she'd been taking lessons for 2 or 3 years. And, it's because her heart had been wanting it for so long, and she was very dedicated just to learning it super fast, to practicing. Her teacher's like, she practices way more than anybody else. And she's just an amazing harpist, and now she still is. So yeah, I would have loved for her to do it as a kid, but mostly because of my pride. I'd have just been loved to say, oh, that's Kylie, she's playing the harp, she's so good. But really, she had a wonderful childhood. And it's a little bit the same with swim lessons. She never wanted swim lessons, but I did ask her last time she was home. She said, I'm still really not a good swimmer at all. Like, Samuel's a lot better than her, even though Samuel hasn't had swim lessons either. None of my kids have ever had swim lessons. And I always wanted to take them, but I didn't want the cost, and I didn't want the travel time. I didn't want to sit there with all these, imagine like 7 or 8 kids taking swim lessons, and the little kids and the babies and stuff. I just never did, mostly because of the cost. But when I went to a pool, then I would like jump in with them and like try to teach them as much as I could. Like, I really made the most of our swimming time. And now my sister Lori is really great about teaching the younger kids, so that's awesome. But anyway, Kylie told me, she wishes she was better. And so I said, do you regret that I didn't give you swim lessons? Because it's not too late for the younger kids. Should I give them swim lessons? And she said, no, I had a wonderful childhood. Maybe I would have been a better swimmer, but I also had like a free summer with like nothing to do. And so maybe I wouldn't be so good at writing poetry or writing songs or playing the piano or playing the violin, writing stories. Did I already say that? Cooking. She crocheted a ton. She's a great helper for all the kids. So she's like, I probably wouldn't have learned all those other things because I had so much free time that I was able to teach myself those other skills. And she's proud of all the skills. Things you teach yourself, you're very proud of. You remember them way better. You learned hands-on. And hopefully I'm not going off on too many tangents. But like things that I learned by myself, the lessons I learned them way better than someone teaching them to me. Like, I remember the first time I made macaroni and cheese, when I first got married, like the homemade macaroni and cheese, I put sour milk in it because like I'd always been taught to use sour milk in cooking, like cornbread and muffins and things like that. So I used the sour milk in homemade macaroni and cheese, the white sauce, and of course it did not taste very good. I had no idea that. But now, if my mom had told me that, Marcy, I'm teaching you some cooking lessons. Write this down or remember this or whatever. She had just like listed a bunch of things and like was trying to feed my brain of all these cooking things I needed to know when I got married. It would have been like out the other ear, right? But because I learned it myself, like the first 2 weeks I got married, this is what happened. It might have been like the very first thing I cooked in that after we got married, because I remember it very well. So you remember your mistakes a lot better. You remember your experiments. And it was awesome that nobody yelled at me, like you don't have to do that in front of a class or be embarrassed or anything like that. So that goes with like so many other things. The things that you learned, think about it like as a kid, things you learned are probably things the best, or like what you taught yourself, or you actively asked for someone to teach you when you were ready. It wasn't like someone just telling you to do things, to improve your shots, to improve this. It was when you say, hey, how can I improve my shots? Or how can I learn a new cross stitch or a new crochet stitch or something like that? It's after we were humble enough to ask for it. Not when just someone saying, hey, you're having your crochet lesson today at 3, and you're sitting there and not wanting to learn it at all. So to sum all this up, I just also want to say, just go with your gut. If you really feel like your 4-year-old would just thrive in soccer or whatever activity, let them do it and let them try it. And please give them plenty of other free time during the week, during the day. Make sure it's not messing up their nap schedule, their eating schedule, their playtime, other things like that. But go with your gut as they get older too, if they're 12 and 15, whether you feel like they really, really need to be on the track team and it's going to be good for them, or whether you feel like they could just use some downtime just to play and be a kid and explore their own other interests. Just draw when they feel like it, write a poem when they feel like it, shoot some hoops when they feel like it. All those things don't mean they have to be in an art class, in a basketball class, and on a track team. Just let them run around the neighborhood if they want to and see how they like that, because I do know that it kind of kills their interest. And I hate that. You sign a kid up for piano lessons and they don't want to play the piano anymore. Or anytime they go to the piano, you're like, oh, you should practice the song. You need to be practicing. And they just want to play the piano and just goof off. All my kids never had lessons. They just play and they self-teach. And I give them tips when they want to, but I don't like make them practice a certain amount every day. And I don't constantly be telling them what to practice or how long or how to get the notes right. I just do it when I feel like they're really struggling and are open to help. And a lot of times I just wait for them to come to me so that they are willing to learn it more, like I said. So go with your gut. Does your kid want to play on a basketball team, or they just want friends to play basketball with them and hang out after school, or they just want their dad to play with them? I hope this helps you make a decision about extracurricular activities this year. There's always next year. Like, take a year off and try and see how it goes. Give your kid lots of free time, no screens. Just go see what their interests are and how fast that they can learn their skills, because they're teaching them themselves and learning from their own mistakes. Play with them. My son might say like, hey, can you play soccer with me? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to sign you up for a soccer class. But then I think playing outside with them for 20 or 30 minutes is a lot cheaper and a lot less time than taking them to an hour-long soccer practice 3 days a week, where again, there's the driving time and they pack up and they get ready and everything. So when my kids ask me to play with them, I just say sure. If they want me to do gymnastics with them, I'm like, sure, let's do some handstands on the grass, because it is a lot cheaper, faster, more bonding than taking them to a class in town, and we're having a great time together. Let me know if you have any questions. I do have 3 posts I wrote on my blog about this topic. I have do-it-yourself extracurricular activities, where I talk about Lexi's cooking class and have pictures of that, and cons of extracurricular activities, and how to make these activities work for you. Because I don't think they're all bad. We participate in them. I just believe in moderation and not doing too many, especially when they're young. Doing like the book babies and tumbling tots and just putting your little kids in activity after activity all day long, just scheduling them. I just believe in a lot of free play time, and that the free play is going to help your kids be smarter and more creative and better focused and attention, better behaved. They're going to be more obedient, less depressed, less anxiety, better self-confidence, just so many valuable skills. They'll know how to get along with others much better if they're able to work out these games by themselves rather than just being like a team player, but actually all adult directed activities. So many things that I could talk about this subject with, because I am very passionate about it. But I'm giving you permission to opt out this year, or maybe just do one. Thanks so much for watching. Sorry, my voice gets so dry at the end. That means I need to stop talking. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.